On this episode of Crime All the Time, we have Mitchelle Blair, accused of killing 2 out of her 4 children, 9-year-old Stephen and 13-year-old Stoney, putting their bodies into a small deep freezer for almost 3 years. Mitchelle Blair was born May 10, 1979, in Detroit, Michigan. Living in poverty with her mother, Mitchelle was sexually abused as a child by one of her mother's friends. After the abuse, she tried to tell her mother what had happened. When her mother responded, "It's over, what do you want me to do about it?" Blair will then gone on to having 4 children for 2 different men: Gabrielle Blair, Stoney Blair, Stephen Berry, and Matthew Berry. In September 2002 and February 2005, Child Protective Services paid Mitchell a visit stating claims of child neglect and abuse committed by Blair. 2 years prior to the murders, Blair would pull her children out of public school to homeschool them. In August of 2012, Mitchelle arrived home one day to find her youngest son Matthew playing with his toy soldiers. Mitchelle thought that the little boy was playing with the toys in suggestively manner. Mitchelle asked Matthew where did he learn that from. The youngest son would then say that his older brother Stephen had sexually assaulted him. Mitchelle then went and asked Stephen if it was true that he sexually assaulted his younger brother. When Stephen confessed to assaulting Matthew, Mitchelle became enraged. Over a course of days, Blair would torture Stephen by pouring hot water over his genitals, making the skin peel off. She would beat, kick, and wrap extension cords around his neck. She made Stephen drink Windex. At one point, Blair wrapped the extension cord around Stephen's neck, lifted him up and asked, "Do you like how this feels?" choked with a belt. After 2 weeks of torture, Stephen succumbed to his injuries, and on August 30, 2012, Mitchelle will then wrap him in his favorite blanket and place his body in the deep freezer. 9 months later, the youngest son Matthew will tell his mother, Mitchelle, that his older sister 13-year-old Stoney was also sexually assaulting him over a course of a week. After the accusation from Matthew, Blair will then start to torture Stoney by only serving her 1 bowl of oatmeal with water. Then everything came to a head on May 25, 2023. Stoney and Mitchelle will get into a physical confrontation. Mitchelle beat and strangled Stoney with a black shirt and suffocate her with a black garbage bag. As years went by, neighbors would ask Mitchelle about the whereabouts of her other children. She would always have an excuse, telling the neighbors that the other children were visiting their maternal great-aunt. She will continue to homeschool and isolate the other 2 children in the home. On March 24, 2015, Mitchelle was served an eviction notice. She was not in the apartment on that day. Her and her children had already moved out the apartment. The 36th District Court went inside to clear the apartment. When they entered the apartment, it was trashed with garbage and food tossed everywhere in every room. The apartment appeared unlivable. The crew discovered the small deep freezer in the living room. When they opened the freezer, they discovered the 2 frozen bodies. The neighbors quickly told the police how to get in touch with Mitchelle. She was living with another neighbor. The bodies were taken to the morgue, where they had to thaw out for 3 days. When the police asked her what happened, she confessed to killing her children, saying she thought her children were turning into demons. The 2 other children, Gabrielle and Matthew, were taken to the hospital. Matthew had 25 scars and injuries, both old and new, as well as a loop-shaped scars and injuries on his back and buttocks that are consistent with being whipped by an extension cord. Gabrielle had visible cut above her eye, where she said Mitchelle hit her with a 2x4 wooden board. She also had a broken front tooth, where Blair had hit her with a curling iron. Blair refused to get the children medical treatment. During Blair's trial, she had outburst, including saying, "I'll do it again if I had to, I don't care what anybody thinks, she had to go, period. When I say he got closure, he got it. I know exactly what he was feeling, because that's exactly how I used to feel." In June of 2015, 35-year-old Mitchelle Blair was convicted of murdering her 2 children and stuffing their bodies in the deep freezer. She was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole and was sent to Huron Valley Correctional Facility in Pittsfield Township, Michigan. She has also stated that she wanted to turn herself in after the murders. But her youngest son, Matthew, did not want to live without her. Do you think that the whole sexually abused story was made up by the mother to justify her actions towards her children? Comment down below.